to meet you here today. We are continuing a series of interviews. People, speakers, coming at Eco event, and I am very happy to talk with you today about your experiences. During this exchange, I will ask you some questions coming from the SIPO members. The SIPO is an organization, a collective of association, French association, working on the UAP subject. And many members have written questions for you.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. Just to start, so please, Christiaan, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Christiaan van Heijst. I'm an airline pilot. I'm also a photographer, and I'm one of the first commercial pilots to come publicly forward with my UAP experiences.
Okay, so as an evident question at first for our public, could you talk about your UAP experience?
Yeah, it was actually happening in the earlier years of my career, and I never even thought it was a UAP when I saw it. Okay. They were just twice I've seen some unexplained lights falling down with extreme speed from, let's say, 60,000 feet all the way down to the surface of the planet. Once I've seen a light that was making a really strange stuttering movement in the night sky before it shot up with incredible speed, instantaneous acceleration. No acceleration, was just instant speed. And once I've seen a solid object hovering over Spain at extreme altitude and distance, and we saw it for over an hour. And I say that I didn't recognize it as a UAP because I was just shocked to see it. I had no clue what it was. And it was only later that I realized that these things were reported by military pilots like Commander and Lieutenant Ryan Graves. And that was the trigger for me to start thinking about what I've actually seen the years before. And it's only since 2021 that I had to come to the conclusion that it was actually a UAP that I've seen, or it qualified as a UAP.
Okay. At this time it was a UFO for you before changing to the term UAP. Okay. From your perspective, how do pilots generally react to or report unusual aerial phenomena they encounter during flight?
Well, the first reaction is wonder. You're thinking, what is it? What am I seeing? Most pilots, they don't think, oh, it's a UFO or it's something alien. The first thing we think is it maybe another airplane? Is it maybe something weather related, like a strange lightning? Is it maybe a balloon? And we start to analyze very rational what we see, because it could be a flight safety aspect. It could be something that could be dangerous for an airplane. So the last thing that we actually think about is UFO or UAP.
Okay.
But still, if there's no other explanation left, then it's a mystery.
And so, what are the thoughts or experiences about the UAP subject when they are coming finally to this conclusion?
Some people go into denial. They just say, oh, it never happened, just denial. Some people, they, especially commercial pilots, they think it must be something military. As you probably know, and other military pilots, even military pilots are facing the same thing. So the excuse that it's something military doesn't really hold up. And some pilots are just still clueless, big question mark.
And do you believe there should be more openness within the aviation community to discuss and report UAP or without fear, or to avoid professional repercussion?
Absolutely, and I think what we saw with the Chinese spy balloon over the United States and the other objects that were witnessed over the United States is that there are actual physical objects in our airspace where we are flying as well. And I'm not talking about UAP, I'm not talking about aliens or flying saucers. There are objects, and pilots have to be free to report them. And it doesn't matter if it's a balloon, it doesn't matter if it's maybe something exotic, or maybe it's a strange cloud. Yeah. I think the openness is important for flight safety, and the moment that we can report anything we see without fear, that improves safety for everyone in the world.
But you talk a lot about safety. Do you think it could be important for the science either?
Definitely, especially the things, for example, the lights I've seen that accelerated with extreme speed. This is physically impossible for as far as I know. The instantaneous acceleration, etc. Even if it's just a weather phenomena, even if it's just maybe some natural phenomena that we don't know about, we have to study it because it's something that we don't understand. And if you study something you don't understand, there's a learning curve.
And what is your experience about this report? Where do they go?
Well, we don't have anything to report actually. Sometimes I can tell the air traffic controller that I see something, but the air traffic controller will say, well, no, sorry, I don't know anything about it. So there is no way to report anything.
Oh. In fact, in France, you have a way to report, and the Japan has access to some civil commercial flight. But I think it is an exception. So, in your opinion, what kind of training or guideline should be in place for pilots to handle UAP sighting and report them effectively? For example, do you think the current ICAO regulation or safety event and security incident reporting in flight should be modified so that the crew member witnessing UAP can report and speak more freely without fearing for their career?
Yeah, I think that's one step, but also pilots have to be aware that there are things that they can report. Because some pilots, they sometimes see some lights and they just ignore it because they think, it's probably Starlink, it's probably this, it's probably that. So pilots have to be aware as well that there are sometimes things happening out there that are worth reporting. So it's a culture shift and it's a safety aspect that has to be dealt with.
And how to be aware? Not that perhaps during the training, maybe the pilot could be outreach on the subject. No?
Yeah, I think it could be part of the flight training where pilots are being taught that there are sometimes things that are worth reporting. It could be part of the training in an airline as well. So not during the basic flight training, but in an airline, that the instructors are telling them, if you see something, this is the report. You get the iPad, you can fill it out, or the form, doesn't matter. And I think this is part of training new pilots, but it takes a long time before we make this culture shift. But I think that's the right way to go.
And do you have sometimes meeting with other pilots in conferences, just professional meetings for you, where you may talk about this subject? Can you imagine that?
Well, I'm not, actually this is the first time I'm attending such a conference, but I'm ambassador for the UAP Coalition Netherlands, and we get many pilots with their reports contacting us, and I'm one of the contact persons to talk with these pilots and discuss their sightings. And sometimes people just want to talk, they just want to say what they've seen, and some pilots, they really want to contribute as well to help this subject get rid of the stigma and for other pilots to become aware of it as well. So it's a slow process, but I see that a lot of pilots are slowly opening up to it.
Okay. And do you think doctors who issue pilot medical certificates should receive specific training or guideline either to help them differentiate, for example, between a genuine UAP observed by the pilots and or with differentiate this with a pathological issue? I'm not sure they are able to do that today.
No, but I think a lot of doctors and also psychologists have to realize that once a pilot, a trained professional, is seeing something that he cannot explain, it has to be taken serious. I mean, pilots in general, I think most of the pilots are very logical professionals, and we have to be able to say, well, I see something that I cannot explain. And that doesn't mean that pilots are saying, I saw a little green man in a UFO. It means simply they see something they cannot explain, and there should be an openness about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you think the aviation industry can also contribute to the study and understanding of UAP?
I think the only way that the aviation industry can contribute if pilots are able to tell their stories, because the aviation industry themselves, it's a commercial industry, so they're just focused on flying line flights and not much else basically. But pilots are literally sitting on the front row with windows all around them, with their with a view of the unique experiences out there. So it's the pilots that are capable of reporting it, and I think, as we just discussed, the pilot reporting process is the most important one.
I was wondering if you can have a camera filming always around on the 30-60. Okay.
It's very expensive.
Very expensive.
For example, even a small light, just a beacon light, I think it costs 20,000-30,000 euros just to have that light installed. So if you have a camera installed on the airplane, to certificate it is very expensive. Someone has to maintain it. Well, who's going to pay for it? It will add extra drag to the airplane, so the fuel consumption will be higher. I don't think it will.
Maybe just in the cabin. I have met with Mexican pilots. They are imagining filming inside their cabin with an iPhone, for example, during their flight. Just they put the iPhone on the window inside, and they are just filming. But maybe you may have a little bit more evolved tool. You know?
Maybe, but an airline has to make sure that it's safe. Let's say if you use a GoPro is very cheap, you can replace it. But a GoPro has a battery. The battery can burn, battery can maybe explode, or it is a big safety factor. So everything we install in the cockpit or in the airplane, we have to be sure that it's absolutely safe and it will not short circuit or burn. So for an airline, they have no benefit for it. I mean, we would like to see more and know more, but for an airline, they just want to make money. So why would they risk having something in the cockpit?
You are allowed to have a phone in the cockpit.
Yeah.
And a GoPro, you are not sure.
I mean, you could do that.
Could.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for an airline, I mean, that's just up to the individual pilot. But an airline, like a company, they say, well, why would we do that? Why would we invest in it? Because they don't care about UAP, of course.
What safety consideration should pilots keep in mind when encountering on UAP, you think?
Focus first on the flight. Just focus on flying the airplane. Even if we see really beautiful scenes outside or UAP, just focus on flying the airplane. Second, I think it's important to always contact air traffic control. Ask them if there's military activity, if there's missile test, if there's anything strange going on in the airspace. And ATC, the air traffic control, has to report the file as well. And second of all, if there's a chance, if the object is there for a longer time, because 3 out of the 4 times I've seen UAP, it was gone in 2 seconds. It was just gone. But if there's an object, for example, one object I saw over Spain, we saw for over an hour, ask pilots to take a picture of it, even with the phone or with a GoPro or a normal camera, just try to record it. And later on you can try to put the pieces of the puzzle together, but just try to record it the moment it happens. Of course.
Are you aware of a type of observation, that combine the marine and aerial environment, both?
Sorry, you...
an observation which is both a UAP, a flying phenomena, and also a marine phenomena on the sea.
I see what you mean. Well, one of the sightings I had was actually a light falling down. We only saw it once it was visible through the window. We estimated that it was coming from at least 60,000 feet, which is almost twice our altitude, and it fell down. Within 2 seconds, it fell down into the sea. And it did not leave a smoke trail, no smoke or particles. It just fell down into the sea. It was about, I think, 20 to 25 kilometers away from us, so it was quite far away. But we did not see a splash, we did not see steam, we did not see any water. It just fell down into the sea and was gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Impressive. How can one determine whether an official organization like RAW or NASA, and it's a more general question, will be honest on the UAP subject or try to obfuscate the subject?
I think the biggest factor is if it's a government organization, and if it's a government organization, I don't think we can trust it 100%, because there are always chances that it's political, that there's maybe a cover-up or connected with military. So I think, for example, the Galileo project, which is independent, non-profit organization, independent from government, that's the type of organization that should investigate those things, because they don't have any political or military agenda.
Okay, but the NASA is not the same for you.
With the statements that NASA made, I started to doubt how serious they take it.
I see. My last question, what impact did you expect from the event of like this conference regarding ufology or the scientific community?
I think it's a slow process. I think my testimony, just as a simple pilot, might help maybe 2 or 3 other pilots to come forward as well. Other speakers, they have really interesting insights, and I think it's a slow process where we just have to become aware of what's possible. And science is something that we cannot force it. And I think it's very special, for example, that Avi Loeb with the Galileo project became interested in the topic, and he decided we have to investigate it scientifically. And I think those kind of people might be inspired by a conference like this. And it might take maybe 2 years, but maybe in 2 years there will be another project that's inspired what we discussed today. It's a very long process, but all the little bits are helping to get rid of the stigma and to take it more serious.
How many years in the process, you think?
I don't, well, let's say how many years until we get this disclosure? Or?
Disclosure, or at least a freedom of speech for pilot, for example. And,
it's difficult to say. I don't have fear to speak out publicly, so for me it's not an issue. But for many other pilots or the aviation community or in general, I think it will be a long time. We're talking about at least 5 years before the topic becomes mainstream. And talking about disclosure, I don't think it will ever happen. At least not from a government.
Jack, would Jack add something, maybe?
Yes, but the question was well, and the answer was good. you have make all around the subject.
Okay, thank you.
I think so. I think so, like you.
Yeah, because I understood you saw something when you were flying a Mirage. Sorry.
Yes, before I was a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
During the Cold War.
Yeah.
And after I became a pilot at Air France.
Oh, I see.
So I have known the same problem in the crew. The mental is not the same with the military pilot and the liner pilot, the safety for the civilian pilot.
Yeah.
And a fighter pilot in this formation as evolution is not so a problem for him. Yeah. It is not the same, but the question was well, if it is and I think it is the politics. The politics. If it interests the politics, okay, we can talk about it. It was not. We have made such a work with some French president. If it is interesting for us, for image, for the people to vote for them, okay. It is when we are going for working something, we finish in a short time because it's not interesting for them.
I see, yeah.
I have perhaps a more personal question. I have heard that you work on a film. Could you tell us something about this film?
Yeah, I was approached by a producer, a French producer, and he wrote a script involving a UAP and an airplane. I'm not going to say too much, but it involves a flying scene as well. Mm-hmm. And he asked me if I could help with the dialogues and talking about the procedures, how does a takeoff work from a pilot's perspective. And he sent me the script, and I was really happy to help him out. So I was sitting there with a cup of coffee, and I was changing the dialogue because the conversations between the pilots had to be realistic, and some other little technical things. And I sent it back to him, and he was really happy. And he said, "Wow, do you want to help us further with the script? Because it's so helpful to get the insight from a pilot and also how airspace work." And so before I knew it, I was part of this movie project, and I'm not sure how much I can say because I leave it up to the producer of the movie to come forward with the rest. But it's about UAP, and I think it's very interesting to see that even a producer like that is picking up on the topic and finds it important enough to invest his time and energy and money in such a project. So it's what we see in the United States with Tom DeLonge and his movie projects, I think it's all indications that the culture is slowly changing. And it's a slow change. It has to be slow because people have to get used to it. But this French movie, now this conference, in America you see a lot of movies and songs about it. I think it's a good indication that we're going in the right direction.
Okay. It's very nice. Thank you very much, Christiaan.
Thank you so much.
See you
Yeah.
soon. I hope.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.